Welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here with us today because, well, we're going to unpack one of the most fascinating and, let's be honest, kind of maddening mysteries of our modern work life. For the past year, we've all been sold this beautifully utopian promise about artificial intelligence. You know the pitch. The idea was simple, right? AI comes in, takes over the heavy lifting, does all the incredibly boring, mundane tasks in a fraction of the time, and literally gives us our lives back. We were supposed to be reclaiming our afternoons, spending way more time with our families, or, I don't know, finally taking up that sourdough baking hobby we've been putting off since 2020. But take a look around your office, or your home office. Is anyone actually clocking out at 3 p.m. to go paint? Probably not. So today we're going to use data and historical precedent to figure out exactly where all that saved time is actually going.
Okay, let's dive into this. 3 times. 3x. This is the massive, almost unbelievable claim floating around in pretty much every single tech presentation and software update today. The whole narrative is that if you adopt these shiny new AI tools, you are going to make yourself 3 times more productive. You're going to be this absolute super worker, just churning out results at a blistering pace. And honestly, nobody's really questioning the math on this productivity boost. I mean, we all see it. The tools are incredibly fast. We genuinely are doing things much, much quicker than we used to, but that brings us to a massive, glaring contradiction.
Right. If we're suddenly 3 times faster at doing our jobs, why on earth is nobody leaving the office at 5 p.m. anymore? Seriously, think about it. If it used to take you 8 hours to do your daily tasks, and now you're 3 times faster, you should logically be slamming your laptop shut by lunchtime. You should be out the door. But you're not. I'm not. Literally nobody is. We're all still sitting there at 5:36 p.m., staring at these glowing rectangles with this mix of total exhaustion and, frankly, humorous exasperation. So where exactly is the glitch in the matrix?
To solve this mystery, we first need to look at what this whole AI efficiency promise actually looks like in practice. Here's the standard checklist every AI tool throws at you to speed up our daily office drudgery. Number 1, you're going to write emails faster. Just type a quick prompt, hit enter, and boom, you've got a perfectly polite corporate email that, let's be real, probably could have been a Slack message anyway. Number 2, you're going to summarize documents faster. You don't have to read that brutal 40-page PDF anymore. The AI is going to hand you the bullet points in 3 seconds flat. And number 3, you can generate entire reports faster. So again, if all these massive time sinks are being handled at lightning speed, you should absolutely be working significantly fewer hours. The math says you get your time back.
But here comes the ultimate punchline, the real secret as to why the math just isn't matching up with reality. The work expanded. Yep, that's it. The whole shebang. The work simply expanded to fill the exact amount of space that the AI just cleared out. You see, we kind of thought the finish line was fixed. We naively thought, hey, there's a set amount of work to do each day, and if I just run faster, I'll cross the finish line way sooner. But the goalpost completely moved. The work didn't disappear. It just grew in direct proportion to how fast you could finish it.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how this plays out in your day-to-day life. Let's look at the myth on the left versus the hilariously grim reality on the right. The myth was that you'd use AI to write an email faster and then, you'd be done. The reality? Because you can now write an email in 1 minute instead of 10, you end up sending 4 emails instead of 1. The communication volume just explodes. Now let's look at the second example. The myth was you summarize a long document faster, freeing up your afternoon. The reality? Because your boss knows you have AI that can instantly summarize things, they don't send you 2 documents anymore. Oh no, they send you 6. Your reward for being fast is simply, drumroll please, more work. Your increased speed didn't buy you freedom, it just bought you a much higher quota.
Section 1. An old economic idea. Now, you might be thinking, this is some brand new dystopian feature of our modern tech culture. But actually, scratch that. It's really not. This phenomenon isn't a Silicon Valley invention. It's a structural rule of economics known as the Jevons Paradox. It states that when you make a resource more efficient to use, people don't use less of it. They actually use more. The absolutely crucial point here is this deeply counterintuitive human behavior. Our brains naturally think, hey, my car gets way better gas mileage, so I'm going to save a ton of money on gas. But economics shows that when your car gets better mileage, driving basically becomes cheaper, so you end up deciding to take way more road trips. Ultimately, you consume just as much, if not more, gas. Efficiency, paradoxically, drives up total consumption.
Let's see how this builds by looking at a classic historical example. This whole theory was originally about coal back in the 19th century. Point 1 on our timeline. Engineers figured out how to make coal engines significantly more efficient. They required much less coal to produce the exact same amount of power. So you'd think they'd mine less coal, right? Wrong. Point 2. Because those engines were now so super efficient, using coal power became incredibly cheap and cost-effective for a whole bunch of new industries and places that couldn't even afford it before. Which naturally leads us to point 3. Total coal consumption absolutely skyrocketed. Making the resource better didn't conserve it. It just meant society burned exponentially more of it.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how perfectly this historical lesson maps directly onto our life today. We're looking at a direct efficiency parallel. Over in column 1, you have 19th century coal. In column 2, you have your 21st century time. Just like engineers made coal engines more efficient, AI has made your work hours more efficient. A single hour of your time can now produce way more output. But look at row 2. What was the result for coal? Well, they burn more of it. And what's the result for your newly efficient work hours? They get filled with more work. That is exactly what's happening right now. Your time is the coal. AI made your time cheaper and more potent, so your company isn't going to just leave that highly valuable resource sitting around idle. No way. They're going to use it.
And that brings us to a rather provocative question, one that completely reframes the entire conversation we've been having about workplace technology. The real question we should be asking isn't, how do I use AI to be more productive? Honestly, that's just the wrong framing. The question we really have to start asking is, productive for whom? Productive for whom? When we celebrate these massive leaps in speed and output, who is actually reaping the ultimate reward of that newfound capacity?
And that leaves us with this stark reality: the ultimate destination of time saved. On the left, we have the dream, right? The efficiency gains go straight to your evening. You log off, you go home, you finally rest. But on the right, we have the truth. The efficiency gains go straight to your employer. Because your company isn't giving those highly efficient, AI-powered hours back to you as free time, they are, quite naturally, finding more work to fill them with. The resource became better, so they're consuming more of it. Your time is the coal, and since AI made it cheaper, your company is going to burn it. So here's something to think about the next time your shiny new AI perfectly drafts an email in 30 seconds. Are you actually getting your time back, or are you just feeding the corporate engine? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.